My best teachers are the animals. Working with them and helping them that I learn what they need, who they are, what makes them tick, how to best serve them, how to best support them.
They're not becoming pets, they are literally growing to become wild and wilder as they grow.
We do things that people don't think can be done in rehab. We save things that people are like, there's no chance, you can't fix that. Watch us.
Wild Heart Ranch began as a complete accident. I was not an animal person looking to rescue anything. I always had animals. I saved wildlife as a kid, but this wasn't my dream of what I wanted to be when I grew up. However, I am a problem solver, and the problem that came to me was a pair of raccoon kits that had nowhere to go. This was 1996. I was 27 years old and very naive. So I put together a program with a license through the state to help these pair of raccoons. And once I got my license, it was 8 months later, the state had sent me over 800 wild animals. And being the problem solver that I was afraid of what would happen to them if I didn't accept them. So there wasn't any way to get out of it. I just had to solve it as it came. And once upon a time, there were baby deer in my bedroom with diapers on, and hawks and owls flying around my laundry room, and playpens full of raccoons in my dining room. I realized that this is something I can't back out of, because I wasn't about to drop all these animals and say, I'm sorry, you're going to have to die because I don't know how to fix this. So I built my first clinic the third year in. This one we're in now is third clinic on 100 acres, all owned by the nonprofit, which is fantastic. This is the morning Julia Childs massacre. We are preparing the dishes for the animals outside. Now we do have some releases coming today, but right now I'm working on release pans for kestrel falcons, owls, and hawks that we've turned loose. Okay, you've got one raccoon. This is kind of this side. Okay. Red foxes, raccoon, and that's the red shoulder cage. Okay. And then we're moving these two cages. So we're going to have duck, duck, goose. And once upon a time I raised my own mice, but I got tired of the mess and having to kill them. I didn't like it. But I did it for 15 years to save money. And after 15 years, I decided that I deserved a break today. I quit raising them. These guys are fixing to go to a flight cage. We're going to release the barred owls and then move these knuckleheads.
Sure, I appreciate it.
Yeah, they're ready to go fly in a long cage. Now we could put them in the eagle cage.
How would we ever catch them to get them out of that eagle cage?
That's the problem. We don't do a whole lot of mice in the pans because these guys are already hunting, and the kestrel falcons hunt insects, so frozen mice are expensive, so we just save those for the ones that really need it. But we fortify everything. We call it shake and bake, but it's bone meal and Raptor vitamins. And yes, there is such a thing called Raptor vitamins, but it turns the meat into the nutritional value of a whole animal, thus saving us thousands of dollars every year on frozen rodents. Come on, right there. Come around.
You're dramatic.
Oh yeah, red shoulder hawks, drama queens. Their oldest resident that's still at Wild Heart is Bob the Bobcat. It's one of the favorites. He is over 20 years old, and that is probably one of the oldest, if not the oldest, bobcat in captivity. and he looks great. I mean, for his age, he's doing wonderful. And if you think about it, if, you know, we figure his age in cat years at 6 years per year, that's 120 years old. And he's still very spry. He'll still run to you. He still gets very excited about catnip. Yeah, he's great. And Bob came to me 20 years ago as a declawed 6-month-old that was turned loose without his claws. So he was on the road to starvation. And animal control brought him to me. And the cat didn't have any paperwork. He wasn't suitable to place with the zoo. And I just said, I'll keep him. And, 20 years ago, I was pretty naive. And so, 20 years of steak every day because some idiot took claws out of a bobcat and released him. But it's okay. He's given back far more than he's taken. And then there's Scooter. Scooter's the little white rabbit that came in. I guess it's been almost 2 years now. Lady said she found him dragging himself through her backyard. He had broken his back and was paralyzed, and it was an old injury, so there was no repairing it. So we've been babying this rabbit along. Scooter's his special power is that he can calm wild deer that are scared. So if we get an adult deer that's injured, and this wasn't anything we tried, Scooter, I had a wild deer over here in the corner on IVs that had been hung in the fence, and Scooter was out loose, and he came and climbed on top of this deer that was very, very stressed. And as soon as Scooter made contact with this deer, that deer just calmed right down. I went, oh, wow, okay, fluke. Next deer, same result. Scooter did the same thing right to the deer, same result. So he became kind of our little magic bunny. So when we have an adult deer and that's terrified, and it's hard to keep these deer calm, when they're adults and they're injured. But yeah, he's really been a help because when we can get them calm and to lay there, then we can get IV fluids in them and help them, recover from whatever. But yeah, he's pretty cool.
Ouch! I just want to go feed my fawns. Out. No. I know, I'm so mean. Well, I was a net Facebook stalker for probably 2 or 3 years. I followed every post and watched all the videos. And then they had put a post on Facebook looking for people to be transport people. And I've always had a full-time job. I couldn't get out much. And I was like, well, I can transport. So, joined the SOS transport page. And I think the first thing I brought was a fawn. Shoved it in a dog crate and drove it out here. I was here for less than probably 10 minutes and decided I needed an excuse to come back. So a couple months later, I brought an opossum that was in my garage. Kind of got attached to him, and I was sad to bring him out, actually. But I brought him out the next day, and then I think it was probably another 2 or 3 months that I came out. And I started coming out once every couple weeks, and finally I asked my boss, at my full-time job, can I please have a consistent day off? I want to be able to go every week so I can be part of the actual staff and be on the staff page and know what's going on. So they gave me Mondays off indefinitely, and I came out every Monday for about a year, and then now I'm here between 30 and 40 hours a week. I'm here Monday through Thursday and sometimes on Saturdays. So now I'm obsessed, and I stay here 2 nights a week.
Pretty sure he's a water snake, though, because he's got really heavy keeled scales. And, oh, I know, you big scary.
2019 is forever going to be known as the year the raccoons exploded here, not literally. The Tulsa area did not have the raccoon support that they typically have. The flooding problems, of course, anytime there's any kind of catastrophe, numbers increase. So we kind of got triple whammy this year. We have our usual overload of raccoons, which we take a lot. Raccoons being the second most expensive animal to raise behind deer. And yeah, we wound up with close to 100, which I like the number 50. 50 is a nice number. 50 means I have the caging, I can afford the care, I have the manpower and I have enough room to keep them separate and not overpopulate the cages so everybody stays healthy. But this year we almost doubled that. So it's been a real struggle. We've had to go kind of in the middle of the week, pull $2,000 out of the budget, buy some new cages, get those up. And today we're going to be moving some raccoons out there to get our cage numbers down inside. Yeah, it's rough. But hopefully next year we'll get back down to normal numbers. Usually we'll have a bad year on raccoons and the next year will be an easier year. So these are more eat your face raccoons. Yeah, they're puffing up. Oh, there's one outside of the cage.
Oh. Hi, friend. Why are you out of the cage? Hey, I need a net. One of them is not in his cage. Don't bite me. I'm gonna be mad at you. What are you doing? You're okay. Hi. Hello. Why are you out? Hi. Don't run away.
How'd you get out?
I don't know. I didn't see him get out.
Hopefully next year we won't have so many raccoons to deal with, and we can preserve our sanity. Because I tell you what, this is, it's mid-June. I always say, if you mess with me in June, be ready for a dragon woman. Because by mid-June, I'm exhausted. I'm burning nothing but adrenaline. I don't have much left to give. And I'm there. And, that's why it was so important for me to do this documentary this time of year, because you really need to see how deep it can get. And it's like this for about 4 or 5 months. But that's what we're good at. That's where we shine. And it takes the hard work. It takes the, exhaustion and the double duty. And, a lot of raccoons being the most labor intensive of all, having a double number of raccoons has just really added to the exhaustion. So once they move outside, we can clean cages with the water hose rather than hand scrub. And that's going to cut way down on labor. And we'll all get a break. That one.
So he knows how to get out, because that's probably the same one that got out this morning.
Look at him looking at Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to escape, but I'm not going to go very far.
Go ahead, get your pet raccoon, everybody. Get your one. This net has a hole in it. Marble foxes are not even a real species. We have 2 of them, and this is a species that the fur industry developed. Arctic foxes are small, and so there's not a lot of pelt on an Arctic. So they combined an Arctic with a red fox to give them a bigger white pelt to make, fur coats out of less foxes. I find all of it offensive and disgusting. And to create a species that doesn't exist so that you can make more money on skins is just appalling to me. But anyway, at some point, someone decided that these could be sold as pets. Well, as babies, nothing cuter. Little white fluff ball. But when they hit 6 months old, their urine starts smelling like skunk spray. And I'm not even joking. People buy these animals as pets, and they take them home, and then 2 weeks later, their house smells like skunk spray, and they're dumping them. They're either dumping them in the wild, or they're dumping them on rescues, or they're trying to find them homes. It's just a horrible idea. And when these 2 came to us, one was at large. He had escaped his home from, I guess, poor caging. But he was almost dead when he was found. And when I got him, he was probably 3 or 4 days away from being gone. And so I worked real hard to bring this guy back. Okay, now here's the funny part of the story. So we get Ozzy in, this really pretty fox. He's a squishy. My crew can play with him. I get him all healthy. And the crew's like, "Can we keep him, Mom?" And I'm like, "No, I will not cage these animals alone. It's not right. They have to have a companion. They're stuck in a cage. Not going to do it alone, and I'm not going to go buy one. I'm not going to add to the problem with this exotic animal trade." And I said, "So unless hell freezes over and another one comes in, I will place it with the appropriate rescue." 2 weeks later, Hunter shows up. And then it's like, you said, got another one. Okay. So yes, fortunately, I found a wonderful sponsor who stepped up with money to build the $5,000 cage. And they are high energy, very loving animals. And people are like, are they more a dog? Are they more a cat? It's like a cat, like a dog, like a ferret, smells like a skunk. That's a marble fox. And I have 2 of them, and you can smell them from about 100 yards away. That's Larry. Larry has decided that the ducks and geese are his. This year was a record for ducks. We had the flooding here in northeast Oklahoma, and the Tulsa area, they didn't have anybody taking ducks and geese, so they all came to Wild Heart. We usually average about 30, 35, 40 ducklings and goslings, and this year it was around 120, 130. So we weren't set up for it, but we made it work. We literally have had ducklings and goslings all over the property. It's okay. It's wonderful out here. There you go. Now the saying, a duck taking to water. You're about to see it because they've never swam before. It's their first swim. They will get so excited. The first one that dives under starts a chain reaction. It's like they discover swimming underwater. We loaded them up. I actually hand caught all of them. I am so covered in mud. Oh, yes, you are. Oh, yes, you are. You know, they say if you want to catch something, get a net, and I'm right here. I'm sorry. You know, it tastes a little bit like if you licked a frog. Beer box now! It's supposed to be the box! Gobble, 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 gobble! Gobble, 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 gobble! My only friend. Sorry, too. You know, going through life, you have little regrets. And sometimes, you know, it takes trials and tribulations to reflect on those regrets and be, you know, one with them. And building this short ass duck goose cage is right now my biggest regret of all time.
Big scary rehabber.
Somehow we, you know, got through it, and we had our second release yesterday of ducklings and goslings, and now they're all grown up, and they went to live in the floodwaters that they were initially rescued from, as ironic as that is. Watching them all hit the water for the first time, open water, knowing that there's miles of water for them to go on, that's what we're doing it for. You know, to see them take their first swim of freedom, it makes it all worthwhile. That's what we're looking for. It's just seeing them out there doing their thing. They all left their crates, happy little healthy birds, and got into the water, and were enjoying a swim of freedom. It was awesome. Bunny is our new guard donkey. Tragically, we lost Bambi, who was our guard donkey for many years. And his full sister took his place, but she's, you know, she's a baby. She's 9 months old. Very much a baby. And the fawns aren't ready for their guard yet, so we're taking this first few months to kind of bond with her and just get to know her and see what makes her tick so that we can make sure that she's happy here. And soon we'll be giving her the fawns to take care of, and you know, that'll be her job. Now, we try to protect our crew from injury, which can be difficult when the donkey bites when she wants someone to share their sandwich and they choose not to. They might get bit, or if they're in her way, or if they're breathing. I mean, that's really offends her, seems to, on some days more than others. But she loves Dan. She is Dan's donkey. And you know, it's kind of like birds of a feather flock together. One ass loves another ass. There's no question that Bunny is very attached to you. And she's a lot of work for you to keep happy during the day. Is it worth it?
Not at all. The bruises from the bites when she's not getting her way are horrible. But, you know, she gave up her family to be a member of ours, so I can make her a member of mine, no matter what it takes. But we don't like the bites. No, we don't.
So she's going to be moving out to live with the deer in a few months. Are you going to miss having her under your feet every day?
Yes and no. I mean, she's going to feel more like home with the deer. Plus, you know, she's not going to have deer all year round. But she'll be able to come back and be with me as much as she wants to in the fall.
And Bunny has just really stepped up in a big way. She's kind of a pill. She's learned to open doors. If only she could close them, I would be great. But yeah, right now, Wild Heart is being run by Bunny the donkey. She is a Wild Heart volunteer. She works for food and shelter and love and carrots. But my philosophy when I've got an animal to bond with that's going to work for us is put them in the clinic and let them become part of the operation. You know, I've raised llamas in my clinic, mountain lions, bear cubs, you know, animals that weren't going to go free. We just raise them in the clinic to make sure that they always have our attention. They don't feel abandoned. And we want to get to know their personalities and how they're going to interact with our crew and us and what kind of role they're going to play here. These would be if you're a bird or a squirrel or a starling, which starlings prefer dog food. This is Mary. Mary was a baby raccoon we took in last year. She had distemper. We had distemper go through our raccoons. You know, it was tragic. We did lose some. Some were fully recovered and released, and then there was a few that had issues that would take time. Mary was one that had neurological damage from the disease. She never fully recovered. We tried everything. She had a chiropractor. We've done physical therapy. We started painting. She's actually made more money on her paintings than I made on mine, so I'm a little bit envious of this one. But we did everything to get her feet working good. And she gets around. She's just very slow, and she has to really concentrate on walking. But anyway, by the time we realized she wasn't going anywhere, you know, we'd been at this for about a year. So we gave up. We got permission from the state to keep her, and she lived happily ever after at Wild Heart Ranch with Mommy. That's right. She's our favorite squishy. Well, I said, don't let Keebler hear me say that. We call them squishies. Any animal that, because we can't play with anything here, you know, all the wildlife are hands off unless necessary. The ones that we can play with are called squishies. And that means you can grab it, you can love it, you can hold it, you can kiss it. And we use the term stupid cute. That's what I came up with, because when you hand me an animal I can play with, I always start sounding really stupid, like I talk like this and stuff. Yes. Wait, thank. But she's a sweetheart. And do not try this at home. Pet raccoons do not wind up this manageable and sweet. Mary has a disability. Because she's so slow to get around, she enjoys being handled. But if you do something to make her mad, she will go full-blown raccoon on you and will eat your face. She's very good at it. Just because the outside is a little damaged doesn't mean that the inside is the same way. The inside, the brain, the raccoon brain is very much raccoon. If there's something that makes her unhappy, she's going to let us know, which tells me that 99.9% of the time, other than a bad food tray incident, this animal's happy. And I like that. I don't have to wonder. She'll tell me, because you're smart. Oh my gosh, Keebler. Keebler is our favorite volunteer magnet. It never hurts to have an animal that everybody gets attached to. So, you know, and they miss him. And if you want to come spend time with our lemur, you've got to clean. So, yeah, he helps keep people coming back for more. Keebler was a traveling circus lemur that was exhibited probably more than he should have at the circus. He developed a hatred, violent hatred towards children, which also includes short people. Luckily, I meet the height requirement. He was sent here by the rescue that had him because he does not like animals or children. So he was alone and not getting a lot of attention because that particular rescue, they had lots and lots of animals that all required interaction and attention. And some people come in my clinic and they notice I have no ceiling. Well, that's because the rafters are Keebler's playground. He gets up in the rafters and runs them. And just, it's crazy how agile he is. And he's an older lemur, so we're real protective of his health. But we expect him to live a long time, and all my animals are required to outlive me, so we'll see. Oh, dadgummit.
Okay. What kind of geese are they?
The deer that we got in yesterday, not untypical of this time of year. I mean, especially after the flooding, because right now the flies are horrific. Everything's wet. Anytime it's wet, humid, damp, you've got insects just going crazy. Yeah, see all these little grains they look like miniature grains of rice. Those are fly eggs, which will become maggots within a few hours. And so all of those have to come off because if they hatch, we will have a deer covered in maggots, and those maggots will get inside the deer any way they can. But the flies have been at her, and I mean thousands, tens of thousands of fly eggs that were hours away from becoming maggot larvae and eating this baby from the inside out. And see the ticks clustered? I mean, there are literally hundreds. Just in this little spot right here, it's probably 100, 200 ticks because they're little seed ticks. And she has patches like that everywhere. Now I can tell that she's been deticked because her eyes are clear, but they're full of pus. You can see all this is infection. See all that? After this, I'm going to eat vanilla pudding and a mayonnaise sandwich. And this little fawn probably hadn't been away from her mom for long. I don't know if mom abandoned her or just mom was not a great mom. I've sprayed her down with some fairly strong, it should not be too strong for her, tick spray. And it'll at least get us ahead of the game. And when we get downstairs, we're going to put some ointment in her eyes that will keep her from losing her vision. I'm sorry, baby. I'm just checking for flies. I think we got it. Now here's those are thousands of fly eggs, those yellow things. And if those were to hatch, this baby would be a maggot salad. She would literally have thousands of maggots crawling into her body, eating her from the inside out. We combed her clean. You have to get every single one of those eggs off of them. And the eggs are sticky little teeny tiny microscopic little eggs that, you know, if you miss a dozen of them, the animal could die. So we stuck with it. We got her cleaned off. She was covered in lice. She was covered in ticks. I mean, anything that could be on this animal was. And after all of that, getting her clean, getting her some medication to help her with infection, to give her some energy, we wrapped her in a blanket, put her on a heat pad in a playpen, and she died in her sleep.
We did lose several fawns all at once. Most of them, we kind of knew when they came in, there probably wasn't a lot of hope, but we always want to give it a try if we can. They had it for 4 days, and they fed it nothing but Pedialyte. So now we're in critical condition because they fed them the wrong thing. Couldn't do anything. It's the useless part that sucks. I don't like when I can't fix it. Where are you already gone? Did you just go on me? The good part is we save a lot more than we lose. Our release numbers are probably the best in the country. We do things that people don't think can be done in rehab. We save things that people are like, there's no chance, you can't fix that. Watch us. We're not going to give up. We'll do whatever it takes. And there are things that shouldn't be alive today that are alive. They beat the odds, and it's with our help. And the thousands of things we do get to release every year, that's what makes it worth it. I'll deal with the losses because we get to save them. He made me cry, and now I'm mad about it.
I know, we're big bullies.
I tell myself and my crew, at least they didn't die in the situation they were in. She didn't die being eaten by maggots. She wasn't eaten by a coyote. You know, she didn't just die laying out in the wet and the cold or the heat or whatever. And she wasn't afraid and she wasn't alone. She died warm, she died cared about, and she died clean. And we have to be okay with that. You know, we can't always get them in time. These are red foxes. They are growing up pretty wild. One of them was hit by a train. And of course, his name is Choo Choo because we're twisted. And this is him right here. He's not tame, but because we were so injured, we had a lot of work to do together. So he accepts me-ish. We're not like BFFs or anything. These are the ones I can't get near. How you doing? But the good news is it's kind of bittersweet. They're ready to go. Mama's got to let go. Oh my God, yesterday releasing the foxes. 3 of them, so happy to see them go. So glad to get them out of that cage. But my Choo Choo, my heart. Legitimate tears. Hang on. I wasn't expecting that. He was almost dead when he got here. Being hit in the head by a train and surviving it is pretty remarkable. And I know he's a wild animal, but when you see a little guy like him that's lost everything, and he was dying, he was about to lose his life, and the only thing I was able to give him back was his health. People always ask me, you know, how do you let him go? I don't want to cage him. That, to me, it's the equivalent of being incarcerated without a crime. They deserve their freedom. It's their birthright. And I always knew I was going to let him go. But there's a difference between physically letting them go and emotionally letting them go. And I wasn't ready to emotionally let him go. It's Choo Choo's first.
Look at you being brave.
Yeah. They'll head back that way to the lake eventually. They're checking it out. Well, the lake, it's all swamp right now. We're kind of in the middle of a swamp. Bittersweet. Go home without my foxes. You know, it's never been important to me to be known or to, you know, change the world. What's been important to me is to make the world a better place for these animals that when I started, nobody cared about. I mean, when I began, people made fun of me because I saved possums and skunks. I mean, the community, I was a joke. And I didn't care. I wasn't doing it for a reputation. I was doing it because somebody needed to, and it was the right thing to do. And eventually, there's a little plaque right there, that little wooden plaque. It says Citizen of the Year for my community. And, you know, it's not Foyle, because Foyle is like this big. It's like the whole community, Rogers County. And it was unanimous that I was selected that particular year as Citizen of the Year by all of our city officials. And to go from, which it was great, it was an honor. But what that meant to me above and beyond the award was that I went from being a joke in the community to someone whose efforts for these animals was valued. Therefore, the animals became valued. That's what mattered. That's what made that award. And so anytime I feel kind of like nobody cares, I have those days, that award's right behind my exam table. I look at it and I remind myself that, girlfriend, look how far you came. Look at what you've done in your community. Just hang in there. There's always going to be a-holes that, you know, look at what you're doing as a big waste of your time and everyone's money. But in the big picture, we have made change, and it's tangible change. And I see the results, and the results are in the amount of animals that come in my door, because everybody seems to, you know, find a way to get them here. And if, you know, one person drives by the injured turtle, I guarantee within 10 vehicles, someone's going to stop, get that turtle, and bring it to me. And that's completely different than the way it was 20 years ago. And, you know, that's my biggest reward. So the silver lining for all of this is when I die, they're going to miss me. By God. I did not live my life absorbing resources and causing people problems. I live my life solving problems, making the world a better place for others, not just animals, but people that had issues with animals that they needed to solve.
I mean, I live with chronic pain every single day of my life. Some days, some weeks, my back is hurting so bad I can't even get out of bed. The only reason that I get up every morning when I can and come in and do what I can here is for release day.
It's a lot of fun to work with Annette. We have a good time. It's hard to keep up with her. She may be close to 30 years my senior, but I cannot keep up with her even when she's sick. She runs circles around me and she's like, no, you've got this. You're the beast. You've got the muscles. And I'm like, no, I really don't. I don't know where you got this idea, but I don't. I'll try because you're asking me to, but I make no promises that I can actually do the things you think I can. But it's a lot of fun.
So come release day, when we release them, my heart just pours out with joy and love. Now you got me crying.
Yay, dancer!
And sadness too, because we get attached to them. We try not to, but every single animal that comes in, it gets all of our love, all of our attention when we're working with that one animal. And it's a sad, happy day. It's like, you know, when you send your kids off to college, you're happy and proud of them, but you don't want them to leave your care at the same time. But you know it's the best thing for them.
And as much as she doesn't like it, she's also my role model. That's who I look up to. I want to be Annette when I grow up. And she hates it when I say that I'm aspiring to be like her. She's like, I'm not a role model. That's not what I do. I'm like, well, you are, so deal with it. You can get over it and just accept that people want to be like you.
A lot of volunteers have come here and eliminated their depression problems. They're feeling useless. I mean, you cannot come to Wild Heart and feel without purpose. To me, that's the silver lining is, you know, expectations are to help animals, but all of the stuff that occurs as a result of what I've put together to help the animals, that is cool. So I didn't set out to help people, but good people who get helped because we're here, that's such a bonus, because that means it will go on after me. And every day I'm working for the freedom to die. And that means that, you know, nothing will change because I'm not here. And these animals will always have a place to go.